Everyone is worried about the coronavirus. What is this? Hold up, I'm gonna watch this honestly, just because I don't know what the fuck the coronavirus
Every day can
is.
be extraordinary with Faye
Oh
Total
fuck.
Yogurt.
So the entire world is kind of in a panic right now. Nobody really seems to know what to do. The news is just going absolutely crazy with the news stories that they can kind of get out of this entire thing. And honestly, that's nothing new. No pun intended there. But
Like,
yeah, you guys know
do you
how
guys
the
know
media
what
is. Whenever they can
the
get some
coronavirus
stories
is?
out of something like this, they're going to go absolutely crazy with it. And
Honestly.
well, you know, when the world is facing possibly one of the worst epidemics that it's seen in a long time, yeah, well, of course, they're going to go ahead and get something out of it. So you guys probably have heard about this coronavirus that has been kind of, well, spreading around the planet and kind of, you know, throwing the whole world into a frenzy. It's become a
Yeah,
pretty hot
honestly.
button issue, and honestly, I'm kind of scared. I'm not going to lie, because, well,
Yeah,
it's
I'm
a pretty
fucking
serious
terrified
thing,
too.
but I mean, I don't think I have anything to worry about personally. I mean, I barely even leave the house, man. I
Hell
just kind of
no.
sit around the house. I play like Black Ops 2 Plutonium,
I
and just
mean,
like
I
kind of
better
chill
go
out.
too.
Play like Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, and just hang out. I don't really do too much, you know? I'm not out here like high-fiving strangers and wiping my nose and like going and eating a hamburger afterwards or something like that. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't
I
know
don't
if
do
I
all
have
that
to
either.
personally worry about this kind of thing coming and getting me. I don't know. But I know a lot of you guys, like you guys go outside all the time, right? You guys are out here just walking around out
I
in public.
try.
You guys are high-fiving one another. You guys are handshaking in business meetings. I don't know. I don't know what you guys do in your personal lives, but this is something that has become a pretty global thing. And at this point, I'm starting to wonder when it's going to become like a global health emergency, because the World
Honestly.
Health Organization has been kind of like hesitant to really, you know, declare it a world health emergency. But I think in the coming days, they're finally going to do it, especially with the progress that this is kind of making now, and with all of the information that's starting to kind of rapidly develop.
I
at
don't know
this
shit
point.
about
So
the
the
fucking
coronavirus
coronavirus.
basically originated in Wuhan, China, which honestly, it's not even like really a city that like, it's not one of the ones that you think of right off the top of your head. At least I don't personally. You know, I'm thinking of like Beijing if I'm thinking of anywhere in China. But this city called
I just
Wuhan in
nod my
China,
head.
which is actually a pretty major city, was where this all kind of originated here in this little like market square, right? Where people were selling live animals and livestock, things like that. And that's kind of the problem, because these coronaviruses, it's actually like a family of viruses. It's not one specific disease. It's not anything like that. There's actually a family of coronaviruses, and the strain that is actually affecting people in what we know now as the coronavirus is
So what the
just
fuck is
actually
it?
one strain of a wider family of coronaviruses. But this family of viruses actually affects all kinds of mammals, and it affects humans, right? So farm animals, they actually do suffer from these kinds of things. Cows and pigs can get it. Chickens can get it. Humans obviously can get it. We know that now. So the
What
fact
the
that it
fuck?
started in this area where a lot of livestock was being sold, where a lot of these farm animals were being sold,
that's
things
fucking
like that,
scary.
obviously I think can kind of, I don't know if it's something that I should just straight up say is like that's the cause, but I mean something that caused it, maybe that's something that happened, who knows yet. We will probably find out that kind of information in
Yeah,
the coming
probably.
days. But the outbreak first started as an emerging cluster with these people who were first thought to really just like have pneumonia, which I mean it can be serious, but I mean it's not like super serious, right? It's not some coronavirus outbreak, right? And these people were stallholders that worked at this wholesale market, which sold that sold live animals, it sold like seafood and all kinds of things. I mean, it didn't just sell like only livestock or anything like that.
Yeah, okay.
But the strain that's actually affecting people now has been found to be at least 70% similar in genome sequence to SARS. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's not the same severity or the same lethality. They don't really know that part yet. Like that doesn't necessarily mean that they're the exact same when it comes down to that kind of stuff, you know. But what we do know is it is pretty severe. I mean, as of today, which is January 24th, 2020, in just China alone, there are 916 confirmed cases, 26 people dead. The United States has now 2 confirmed cases. South Korea has 2
What
confirmed.
the
Japan
fuck?
2 confirmed. France 2 confirmed. Other places like Hong Kong, Thailand, Singapore, Taiwan, Vietnam, Nepal, they all have confirmed cases. Countries like
Bro,
Canada,
what
the
the
United
fuck?
Kingdom, Russia, Brazil, they're all looking into what they believe might be cases of this virus in their country, which means obviously this is something that is spreading worldwide. It's not like
what
this
the
is
fuck?
it's not an isolated incident, right? Like we're not looking at something that's happening in one area like it
Bro.
was when it first was starting. I mean, it first started out, like I said, in Wuhan, which by the way has been placed under a complete quarantine, but now, yeah, it's looking like it's going to become an international thing, which is definitely very worrisome. Now, to get back to
Yeah,
Wuhan being
that's
under
fucking
quarantine, basically,
Bro, I'm
all
not going
public
outside.
transport in and out of the
Bro,
entire
I
city is
fucking
done right now.
know,
Like, you can't get a
bro.
bus in and out of the city. You're not getting on a train going into Wuhan. They basically don't want people going in and out because, you know, it is the place where it all kind of started. They don't really know how many people there have it. They don't know what's causing it. And they don't want this turning into a bigger problem than it already is. But unfortunately,
if you
as
don't
this whole thing has
go
spread,
outside, you
more
don't get
nearby
sick.
cities in China have now
Basically.
also been placed under quarantine as
Bro,
of today,
that's
which means
fucking
that obviously
scary.
the virus is spreading, and it means that there is definitely problems arising in China. Now, China is definitely the hardest stricken country when it comes to
Bro,
this right now.
gamers
But I mean, as
gonna
we see
survive
this
them.
spreading, it looks like it's just
Honestly.
going to get worse from here on out. I mean,
Bro,
it's like
we
people are
straight.
playing Plague Inc. in real life, which, by the way, I do want to add this. This is something kind of ironic, but this game actually has now topped the charts in China over the last few days as this coronavirus has affected people, as people think that this might be the way to cope with the entire thing and get over their fear, I guess, of the
What
virus. The
the
game's been out for
fuck?
8 years, by the way, but on Wednesday it became the best-selling app in China, so...
Bro, that's fucking scary. Holy shit.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of weird, right? But like I said, China is definitely not the only place on Earth that is dealing with this coronavirus, even though it is right now the hardest stricken place on the planet. And what I mean by that is here in the US, the complete panic of this entire thing is now peaking out. Because now, today, the second case of coronavirus has been confirmed near Chicago, in Illinois. Another case, well, I guess to say the first case that was actually detected here in the United States happened in Seattle. So 2 major cities in the U.S. have been, I guess, the breeding grounds for the coronavirus.
See, I live in
here
the East
United
Coast,
States. I'm
but
pretty
that's
sure
on the
with
fucking West Coast.
CDC announcing that
That's-
dozens of other cases in the United States are suspected and they are being investigated, that we will be seeing in the coming days that more cases are here in the United States. But the weird thing
What the fuck?
is it seems like the World Health Organization, the CDC, like they won't declare this like some sort of public health emergency, even though this
Why?
definitely
It
has
sounds-
the potential to become one.
Bro,
I think
that shit
personally, and
sounds
of course,
scary.
personal opinion here, I do want to go ahead and say that I shouldn't even have to say this, but I think that maybe they should go ahead and actually do something about this before,
Honestly,
you know, it
like,
spreads to
yeah.
tens of thousands, hundreds of
They
thousands,
fucking
millions
should.
of fucking people. Why don't we declare like an emergency now and
I mean,
actually
when-
try and do something to
Wisconsin.
contain it, restrict
Where's that
travel
at?
between
Wisconsin's-
countries that are actually seeing infections, between cities that are
In the
seeing
middle?
infections, and make
South.
sure that people
Oh,
aren't,
okay.
you know, spreading the disease between one
Yeah,
another,
fucking
and try to
moron.
do
Yeah, it's
whatever
more
we
like
can to limit this from
west,
becoming like, you know, a
northwest?
global epidemic that like
Yes.
kills
Yeah,
tens of thousands of
northwest.
people, because we really don't need another one of these big like Ebola scares, because I
Yeah,
remember back,
honestly.
you know, what, 7 years ago, 6 years ago, however long it's been now, when Ebola kind of came along and everybody
Yeah,
freaked out for
I
like a
was
year, how
freaking
big
the
that
fuck
was,
out.
man. We really don't need one of those kinds of things
Yeah,
coming
we
back
don't,
around. I
but
mean,
this-
out of most of the deaths that have been linked to the virus, pretty much all of them have happened in or around Wuhan. I mean, like 2 of them I think have happened outside of Wuhan, which means that like when you look at all the deaths, it's pretty much, it seems like the deaths are pretty much happening where it started. But I don't think it's going to stay that way forever. And I don't think this is going to
But
be
it's
like
above
some virus that
Illinois.
just like tomorrow, like there's no more cases that are being
dumbass.
reported. It's not just going to disappear. I mean, viruses don't just go away like that.
Well,
I mean, you
you
got to do something to proactively combat them and make sure that they go away. So,
Bro,
the
you'll be
official
fine.
numbers,
I
think,
promise
are that
you'll be fine.
63 cases
Ah,
across 22
bro, I
states are
believe you'll be
currently
fine.
under investigation. But go ahead and consider this. The virus is considered a, quote, serious public health threat, but the immediate risk to the general American public is, quote, considered low at this time. The CDC said that 11 of those cases tested had already come back negative. So, I mean, there's some contradiction, it seems like, in that statement alone right there, because that doesn't even make sense. Like, I mean, it's considered a
Yeah, it
serious
doesn't
public health
fucking make
threat.
sense,
Even
yeah.
here in the United States, like, they're considering it, quote unquote, a serious public health threat, but it's not like an emergency, right? But the risk to the general American
Honestly.
public is considered low at this time, even though that there are Americans who have the disease. They're being screened positive with the disease. Even though 11 cases have come back negative, there are people who have it. It's becoming a global thing. It's not like, you know, only China has
Yeah,
it at
it's
this
not
point.
like only
people from
it's the
France have
fucking
it. There's people
world.
from Japan and South Korea who
fucking
have it. They
crazy.
can spread it to other people, and the next thing you know,
Yeah,
unknowingly they spread it to other people. They travel here, they spread it to people, they unknowingly spread it to people, and then they find out that they have it, but they've unknowingly spread it to people. That's how this kind of
Yeah,
stuff happens.
yeah,
I
that's-
mean, at this point, like, it
honestly.
hasn't become like, you know, some sort of serious like global thing where, like, you know, there's riots in the streets, people are looting, people are fucking starving to death because, you know, the entire backbone of society has collapsed, but I mean, it's getting worrisome, right? Like, when I first heard about this, I was like, okay, so
That's
there's
so
like some sort of
fucked up.
disease
No,
outbreak
don't
going on in
nuke it.
China, and then they were like, oh, okay, by the way, people in the U.S. now have it, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that now it's getting scary, which,
Yeah,
that's
honestly.
kind of my fault for, having my head so far up my ass, but at the same time,
Bro,
like, it gets a
China.
lot more worrisome when
China's
it's getting
here.
closer and closer to
The United
you, but
States is
at the same time,
fucking
like, maybe we should do
far.
something to combat this,
Yeah, we should-
but it
yeah.
feels weird with all this
Honestly.
kind of going on. 2020
That's
is off
fucked
to
up.
an
Nuke
insane
Wuhan,
start, if we're being
China.
honest with
Let's go.
ourselves. I didn't really think that we were going to be playing Call of Duty Zombies out here in the streets
Honestly,
this early
what
on,
if
but
yeah,
apparently this is
2020
what's
just
going
fucking
down.
started,
So, on
and we had
situation,
fucking viruses
it's
coming
probably
in and
going to
shit.
develop pretty rapidly. I mean, like I said, it's pretty new. The whole thing is like they only figured this whole thing out like within the last month, so they don't even know that much about this whole virus yet. It's not like they don't even have a cure for it. Like they don't have a cure. They don't really have that much like treatment for it. I think at this point all they can really do is like treat your symptoms and like pretty much hope that you'll turn out okay. So at this point,
Damn, it's up to
they got a
hope.
lot to figure out. They got a pretty far road ahead of them when it comes to making sure that this whole thing is contained. But yeah, the world's pretty much in frenzy right now over this whole thing. The news is lighting up with it. People are, it seems like, pretty afraid, and I think justifiably so. So hopefully
Yeah,
everything turns out
honestly,
okay, though.
that's-
It's weird that we went from thinking that we were all going to be killed in World War III to thinking that we were all going to be killed in World War Z. Anyway,
Yeah,
that's
we
pretty
got
much gonna
World
be
War
it for this
Z going
video,
on. We got
though, you
fucking
guys. Thank you for watching. If you
coronavirus.
did enjoy.
What a fucking year.